Welcome to the Selling Show, where we unpack, repack, and break down exactly how CEOs, founders, and senior executives sell their ideas, point of view, and personal brand to the people who matter most. This is your host, David Newman, and you are in the right place if you want to build market eminence, amplify your influence, and attract high-value prospects, investors, partners, talent, and media opportunities with less chasing and more confidence. Let's go. Well, there's a lot of goofballs out there. There's a lot of faux marketers, instant, drip dry, freeze dry, Johnny come lately. And then there's the seasoned pros. Then there's the real veterans. Then there's the guys and gals who know what they're doing. And we got one of those for you today. Mr. Pete Monfre, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So you have one of the best LinkedIn professional headlines. I want to just read that to folks so they can enjoy it like I have. So on LinkedIn, your professional headline says, "Sales and marketing problems solved. Trusted senior advisor to select clients. Follow me for conversations with industry leaders, rogue disruptors, and people smarter than me." Mic drop. Wow. Possibly the best professional headline I have ever seen.
That's high praise. I have to go look at it.
So riffing off of that, could you please tell us the Pete Monfre story? What is the professional journey that brought you to the work that you're doing today? And what were some fun pit stops along the way?
Wow. I was born. No, I won't go that far back. I think I got into marketing mostly because I was terrible at math. And I found a way to get myself through college, avoiding hard math classes. But the other thing is I always loved television commercials. And I thought, in my 8-year-old mind that the way you did that was something called marketing. Now, of course, I was really thinking of advertising. And eventually I did get to make some TV commercials, but certainly the path was very different from that. So my wife and I started what would become a marketing firm in Milwaukee, fancy offices and 25 people and all that stuff that you did in the 90s. But really, we just started it mostly as a creative shop. And then we learned very quickly that we needed to pivot to be more strategic and to understand, so what did that mean, right? So, it's been a huge, long process. We've had a lot of help. And so that's really kind of how we got into the business, very naively in some ways. But the other odd thing is we started at the Fortune 100 level. And now, of course, we've had a lot of smaller clients too, but it's just a very strange way to enter this business. And then now, I'm referring there, I interview people on my podcast called B2B Marketing Mindset. And that's been hugely fun too, because I always feel bad for the business owner looking for marketing help.
Yeah.
Right. And they're very vulnerable. They get taken advantage of all the time. And we talked about when you were on the program, there's a movement towards, hey, you don't really have to know anything. You just have to learn a tool. Doesn't usually work out well, and they get sour, and it's just so we started a podcast, and our mission is to really help make people make better decisions. It's probably similar to your podcast mission, is just to educate people about it so they just make better decisions. Whether they hire us or not, we don't care. Just don't hire the charlatan, man. We'll help you weed them out.
Exactly.
And maybe I'm one. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that's not the case. But Pete, what you're talking about there is what I call happy meal marketing, meaning that the people that buy from you get a beautiful 7-course meal, white tablecloth, 5 different kinds of wine glasses. But even people that come in contact with your marketing should never walk away hungry, so that everyone gets a happy meal. The people that invest with you, obviously, they get the full 7-course spread. So I love that it's a giver's mindset. Whether they buy from you or not.
We give it all away, and I've had people ask me, what are you, nuts? You're just giving away your knowledge. It's so valuable, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, hey, man, I have an unlimited amount. So
right.
Supply and demand. Lots
Eat all you want. We will make more.
That's right.
We will make more. So there's actually 2 sides. Am I right that there's 2 sides, Pete? You've got the clarity marketing side of things. And then tell us also about this agency founders network that is for a very specific kind of business owner.
Yeah, well, we have, my wife and I have several enterprises together, but that is a relatively new one we started last year. And really, we're creating an online community of marketing founders, and doesn't matter what type of marketing or what kind of agency or what kind of firm or what it is. But the idea is to help each other become more strategic, more valuable, and to create, a peer group. That is actually how we made the transition from naive creatives to strategic marketing for Harley Davidson, was being part of a couple of different communities. Back in the day, I think they're still around. We'll give them a plug. Second Wind Agency Network. And there was another one called Agency Roundtable Management. But what we would do is we would get together at a resort, usually in some other town, with non-competing agencies. Very expensive, very time consuming, travel, resorts, big fattening dinners.
Yeah.
But boy, did we just shared everything with each other: financials, benchmarks, processes. And so I owe them a massive debt of gratitude. Those agencies whose names I've forgotten, that's how we did it. So we just created the virtual version, way less expensive. It's free actually to join. But if you want the full experience, it's I think we're at $95 a month. So
this is really fascinating. This is a concept from 20 years ago, but I think some people
Yes.
20 years ago, they got it. Some people did not. Some people today in 2025, they get it, and some people don't. It's called freemium, right? That we have a free level of something that adds tremendous value, probably the free level of what you're doing with Agency Founders Network is worth at least what they paid for their last $2,000 online course or $10,000 mentoring group or whatever it is. So we get them in for free. And then there is an opportunity for a paid version, but even the free version follows along the philosophy of that Happy Meal marketing.
Yeah, the vast majority of people probably will never buy anything, and they'll get pretty much 90% of the benefits of being part of this community. It's by design. And then actually to reveal all, we're not even thinking about trying to convert paid members at this stage, right? We're in our first 8 months of this, and it's really all about providing as much value as possible to all the members that we have, whether they're paid or not paid. And that's going to be our focus probably for the whole year. And then we'll shift gears a little bit. But yeah, we just believe in it. We think that the more value you bring first, the better. So
this is fascinating. And this is a huge, huge niche. You would think on the surface, all these folks that you serve, the digital agencies, the ad agencies, the marketing agencies, the pay-per-click advertising, SEO, SEM agencies, you would think, well, they're the wizards, they're the magicians. Surely they don't need help growing their business. Surely they have this dialed in. They do such a great job for all their clients. They don't have any problems at all. Pete, talk about the myth of the agency founders that do a fantastic job for their clients. They don't necessarily do a fantastic job for themselves. In your experience, why is that? And what's the gap that you help them fill?
Wow. And I don't remember if we talked about this, but we're all so close to our businesses. I can engage with a client and I can see patterns and things happening. I see it very, very fast because I'm an outsider. I'm not bogged down with their confirmation bias. But with my own business, in fact, I think I sent you an email maybe today and said, hey, there's some things I want to ask you, David. It's a bizarre thing. And the other part of that is I think there's been a focus for maybe a decade on tools. And so a lot of people will learn the tools. They start an agency, it's what they call it. It's not really an agency technically, but who cares anymore?
Right.
It could be one person, I don't know. But it's all focused around, I've got a hammer and every problem looks like a nail. And then they discover, well, it's not good enough to be a master of tools or a tool. There's an entirely separate set of skills and we didn't have it when we started, and that is to run a business.
Yeah.
And what a steep learning curve. And the weird thing is, so many of us that start off as, I would say, technicians. I mean, we're more on the creative side, but we're still technicians in a way.
Yeah.
It's not even on our radar when we start. And that's, we want to get that on young people's radar, and the community helps, in those areas. How do we, one common one I get, how do we get clients? I'm like, wait, aren't you in the business of helping other people get clients? It's because they're too close.
Yeah.
Yeah, too close to it. It's very hard to see that path when you're right in the middle of it.
Hold on. This one is so good, even I'm taking notes. Listen, are you a CEO, founder, or corporate executive ready to fix your market obscurity problem and gain the market eminence you know you and your company deserve? Cool. Book your private Market Eminence Roadmap call with me, and let's see what might be possible for you. The link is simple. doitmarketing.com/call. See you over there. Now, I got to get back to taking more notes. Tell us a little bit about what you're seeing right now, because obviously marketing agency, digital agency of any kind, video, there is so much happening now with artificial intelligence. Right. I always like to say AI is a tool set. It's not a religion, at least not yet. It's not a religion. Yet. But some agencies are losing their minds. They're going, no one wants to pay $5,000 a month for copywriting because there's ChatGPT, there's Claude, there's this, there's that. Graphic design. Oh my God, that's been totally commoditized again. Not just offshore Philippines, right. Fiverr, but now it's AI plus offshore, plus Philippines, plus Fiverr. What is a creative agency's true competitive AI-proof strategy that you are recommending that would take them out of the also-rans and make them a real credible resource?
At the beginning of the question, I was thinking, holy crap, I have no idea. But by the end of the question, I think I know an answer. I sound like a broken record, but if you go out and you look at your competitors, so I'm a big proponent of competitive intelligence, knowing what's going on, how they're positioning themselves. Here's where I think most of those companies come up short. They don't have a clear differentiated position, right? So if you go out and look at 10 digital agencies, if you swap their logos all around on all those 10 websites, it'd all still work because they sound the same, they look the same, they do the same things, at least from the outside. Like, yes, if you talk to the founder, he's going to be able to say, well, we do this different, we do that different, we do this different. Somehow in the translation to the outside world, it gets lost. So have a differentiated position. That's number one. Two, do you know David Baker?
I do.
David C. Baker?
Sure.
So David, at some point, and it may have been from his books or it might have been one of his lectures to me, but he said, look, every agency has two rooms. And when I say agency, I'm talking about the whole broad smear of companies that make up the constellation of marketing specialties. They have an execution room, which is usually about 75% size. And then they have a strategy room, which could go from 1% to 25%. Some have none, really, honestly. David's being gracious, probably. He said, and each room has a door, and they're both open, and clients come in through both doors. They come right to the execution room, or they come through the strategy room, usually a lot more through the execution room. Yeah. He said, shut the door on the execution room. All clients come in through the strategy room, through the execution room, right? And so what he's really saying is have a strategic component. Don't just be an order taker. Oh, need to do SEO? Sure, let's write that up. Need a website? Sure, let's write that up. Need to do paid ads? What's your budget? Let's do it. It's the asking of the why. It's the what is the target audience? What about the positioning? Yeah. It's the strategic element that will set you apart from all those other technicians. They're not engaging. And I feel like I want to say why that is, right? Because the person watching this they might not be like, well, why? Who gives a shit about that, right? Right. Okay, here's why. Do you want to be a vendor down at the bottom of the value curve, or do you want to be an advisor at the top of the value curve? That advisor gets paid 4, 5, 6 times as much as you. They have more longevity in the account. They have a deeper relationship with the client, and the client listens to them. When you're a vendor, you're replaceable. You're under constant price pressure. There's always somebody cheaper out in Bangladesh that also knows how to use Canva. That's why. And by engaging companies on a strategic level, you're going to move up that value curve. And it might take some time. Some of you are saying, well, how on earth? Yeah, yes, it's hard. Very hard. Takes time. But that's what we did. That's literally what we did.
I know you have a very unique and very smart philosophy about the connection between marketing and revenue, sales, margin, profit. There's a lot, and still today, which is good news for you, still today, a lot of marketing that is out there for the sake of marketing. It's like, ooh, let's get more followers, let's get more fans, let's get more opt-ins, let's get more downloads for your thing. And no one is connecting the marketing activity to a sales result.
Yeah.
Preach to me, give me the Pete Monfre official lecture on why that is so insane and what to do about it.
One, please keep showering me in compliments.
Absolutely.
Makes me feel good about myself. Wow, that is a huge question because connecting to revenue, there's
well, I guess maybe
it depends on what you believe. Right.
Vanity metrics versus metrics that really move the needle.
Okay, so a lot of clients, and this goes back to saying, that they're vulnerable, right? They're seeking an expert because guess what? They're not experts, right?
Yeah.
And so that makes them vulnerable to whatever that expert tells them. And so what's happened over the years is we started off, measurement attribution was very much in its infancy back in the day, 90s, let's say, 80s. Then when digital came along, we were able to measure some things, right? But it turns out, looking back, what we decided to do is just measure the stuff that's easy to measure, not necessarily the right things. And those are your vanity metrics, right? Now there's people like Chris Walker out there. There's a lot of people talking about attribution and how it really works, particularly in B2B. And so in order to connect marketing to revenue, you have to be looking at the right metrics. You also have to get your sales team and your marketing team to work together. Oh my gosh, cats and dogs lying together. It's the end of the world. The way we do that is usually our second meeting. Our first one is usually with the executive team. The next meeting is with the sales team with their boss not present. And I facilitate these meetings, but I want to hear from them. Now, what this does is it brings them into the fold, right? And then later on, they're all going to meet together. All the teams. And it actually goes surprisingly smoothly. So now you've organizationally made the connection. You're using the right metrics. And then you have to accept as a client, there are parts of marketing that can't be measured. Oh, I'm sorry, I said it out loud.
Yeah.
No matter how badly you want to measure it. Now, let me make a caveat. Some of the things that are hard to measure, what I really mean is they're just way too expensive for you to measure. Do you really want to measure it? Oh, we can absolutely do it. Get your wallet out, right? It doesn't make sense. And so brand awareness is one. Super important, can be measured, way expensive. So most companies have limited resources. So I think it's as simple as making sure your marketing people and your sales team are using revenue-based metrics and communicating and actually tracking it. And what I mean by that is, this is really common. This happened to you. Like you sit down with a prospect and you ask them about their metrics, and of course they're tracking all that stuff. And they got, we can give you all that stuff. And then when you engage with them, you find out, you know what? They're actually not really tracking anything.
Right.
They say they are, and they think they are, but they're really not. And so sometimes that disconnect is really not that hard to fix. I don't know if that answered the question at all, but
yes, no, for sure.
It's just a process that you have to go through from a top. And this is a top-down thing, by the way. The CEO has to be the leader of this entire initiative, or you'll never connect to revenue.
Yeah,
I don't care what you do.
Holy smokes, so much value in this episode. Listen, if you are loving what you're hearing, feel free to download, subscribe, tell a friend, leave a review. on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to The Selling Show. Now, back to the interview. I know that when clients come to you, almost always, or at least maybe even talked about this when I was on your show, we are usually not their first rodeo, right? They've been burned, screwed, let down, overpromised, underdelivered. What are some ways beyond mentioning your experience and mentioning success stories and amazing client list, all the right logos on the website, the war stories, the deep level of no BS that you emanate? How do we overcome that skepticism? And maybe at this point, it's like sadly well-deserved skepticism of the industry. How do the good guys like you and me stand out without looking like we're blowing yet more smoke?
Wow. I don't know. It's a huge problem. The level of cynicism that we face. The thing I say all the time is, we are paying for everyone's sins that came before us.
Yes.
I think that this is where putting your knowledge out there in the form of writing and podcasts, publish or perish, I just had somebody either yesterday or the day before that was really barking questions at me, testing me, wanting me to prove, convince, right? And I tolerated it for about 3.7 seconds. And then I said, hey, man, can I just ask you a question? Have you Googled my name, gone to my website, checked out my LinkedIn profile? No, I haven't. So at this point, I'm thinking, you know what? You're wasting my time. Hey, man, I'll tell you what, let's do this. Because the guy was late to the meeting, and he was running out of time. The whole thing was just very kind of like seemed like a nice guy, right? But just not a good match for me. And I told him, I don't think we're a match. But he was... We're not a match just because the personalities, I just wasn't feeling it. But he was doing what I think any good prospect probably is thinking. Yeah, you have to prove it to me. All you marketing people are a joke, right?
Yeah.
Con men, right? Now, so my answer to it has been, if you Google my name, then you can decide on your own. Like, I'm never going to tell you, hey, I'm the best. I'm not. That's not for me to decide. That's for you to decide. Yeah. And I've put that information out there in a way that I can't filter.
Yeah.
I also asked about references, by the way. Have you seen what David Baker says about references? Because I just mimic him.
I have not. What's the David C. Baker reference strategy?
No.
We don't give them because?
We don't give them because a couple of reasons. Our clients didn't sign up to sell our services. Okay. 2, people abuse that privilege. They'll have their assistant start dogging the client on the phone, by email. 3, it doesn't even work because, of course, I'm going to give you people that love me, right? And in the rare case that we do give references, because he was asking me for references, I told him this. Yeah, no, I have 30 or more, I don't know how many, on my LinkedIn profile. So you could just go and see and decide for yourself. But I love this. I have to give credit to David for this. He says in his FAQ and now in mine, it says, on the rare occasion that we do give references, we would exchange references. So you give me the names and phone numbers of the last 4 agencies you've worked with, and I'll give you the names of the last 3 or 4 clients that I've worked with. Yes. Deal? Right? Nah, it's pointless, and I don't do it. It's unprofessional.
Yeah. It's so funny that you mentioned this. This is something I have not thought of for years, but I used to do this, or I used to talk about this. I had a friendly competitor, adjacent, not really competing. The guy calls me up and he says, "Hey, I want a reference for Jim Bob." And I said, "You mean that you're thinking of hiring Jim Bob?" He goes, "No. Jim Bob's thinking of hiring me." And he mentioned your name. How was he as a client?
Ooh,
that rocked my world. I was like, so we got one trusted advisor saying to another trusted advisor, this guy's knocking on my door. Was he a pain in your ass? Was he a good client? Did he fall in line? Did he implement what you told him to implement? And I had a very honest conversation. I said, wasn't a great client for me, but that could be a chemistry thing. That could be the stage or phase that he was in at the time. And the guy ended up going, my friend went back to the guy and said, I don't think we're a fit. Because he reference checked the client.
I love it.
That is a total rock star move.
It sometimes works out that you can do it. I think the more connected you are in your industry, you usually can figure that out. But it's fair game. In fact, here's what was happening with this younger. He's probably in his 30s. He's very hard driving New Yorker. I get that. But he was under the impression that it was my job to convince him, or that he was the guy that was holding all of the diamonds.
Yeah.
And I was the guy in the desert, like with no diamonds. And I was supposed to impress him and pitch him and convince him. And I'm like, I got news for you, bro. You're supposed to be convincing me that you're not going to waste my time as a client. And then David, I'm going to rant just a little bit, because you said ranting, it was okay. And he started telling me what I should be doing, like giving me advice. And the guy doesn't even know me, right? It's like, well, why aren't you monetizing that podcast? Because that's not its purpose. And I've produced so much media that would be kind of a living hell. And I actually enjoy podcasting.
Yeah.
Do I need to monetize it? It's just funny to me. It's like, and what I said is, look, man, this is why I don't think we're a match, because I'm going to get to know you on a deep level and not give you advice that I just pull out of my ear if you're lucky, maybe somewhere else if you're not, like you're doing to me right now, because you have no idea. I said, what makes you think that I have to make money? He was like, oh, well, you're like, dude, I've been in business 35 years. I own 4 companies. Half the time I'm working to entertain myself. I do need money. I like money. But why would you assume that? I don't know. It was weird. It was just one of those strange phone calls. But
yes,
what was really funny is I said, I don't think we're a match 4 times. And he acted like he didn't even hear me. So
sometimes
I'm like, it's not a technique. I don't want to work with you.
Exactly. But even if it's genuine, sometimes the test is, let me say it once, let me say it a second time, let me say it a third time. If they keep jumping over the fence, there may be something there. They may still be a jerk that you never want to do business with, but we may be chipping away at their resistance if we're the first ones to say no.
Well, and it is a technique. And I tend to not use sales techniques, but it is, Sandler calls it taking yourself off the table. And sometimes you can kind of pivot somebody or get them to start opening up by using that technique. Yeah. Or honestly, sometimes I would just rather cut to the chase and be like, I just don't think that we're going to get along. I don't think you're going to be coachable and listen to me. Right. And you're already telling me what to do with my business. You just, maybe, I'm sure he's just a very nice guy. I enjoyed our conversation, but it's like, no, you're just not going to be a good client for me.
I'll tell you, so I forget who said it, but it is very wise words. Sometimes the best deals are the ones that you do not do.
Yeah, and I can't remember who said it, but it was something similar, like you're defined by what you say no.
Yes.
That's a terrible sentence, but you get the idea. And so that's hard though. Sometimes you are looking at your wallet and you're looking at things going on, your furnace just died and you're tempted to take on the client that is not I think over time you make that mistake enough times. And honestly, I still make it sometimes. But over time, you're like, not worth it.
At least it's fewer and far between.
Yeah, I could go take a nap, which would be more valuable to me than helping that guy.
Absolutely. Well, as we're landing the plane, I know that folks are going to get connected and stay connected to more Pete Monfre brilliance. Where can we send people? What links can we drop in the show notes so folks can connect with you in your world?
Well, I would say that the website's called B2B marketingmindset.com. And there's over 100. I think we're shooting our 119th episode this Thursday. It goes out live video and then into syndication audio the next day. So you can get that everywhere fine podcasts are consumed. And then agencyfoundersnetwork.com. If you're a marketing business, you want to get some community, go there, just sign up, real easy. And then, of course, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm so easy to find. Although you might find my cousin who has my exact same name.
But he doesn't have the same killer headline that you have on your profile.
No, and I'm way more attractive.
Absolutely.
No,
Pete Monfre.
I love my cousin.
I'm sure he's a great guy.
His name's Pete Monfre. What are you going to do?
There's nothing wrong with that. Thank you for joining us, and we totally have to have you back. We just scratched the surface of all the marketing craziness that you and I are put on the planet to fix. So thank you.
Wow. Well, thanks for doing this. And, you and I, we're going to do some programming together for sure. I really enjoyed it.
And that wraps up another episode of The Selling Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, tell a friend, go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thesellingshow.com. See you next time.